Okay, so thanks for joining me today. We're going to do a spiritual little talk. And do you want to say a few words about yourself?
Hello, so my name is Lina, and I've been interested in spiritual things and everything normal and things like this. So it's always fun to talk about this stuff. And I've known Christina for quite a few years now. I attended your Power of Life workshop and done some work with her. So it's like really fun to come and talk about this stuff with her today.
Yeah, and I really love as well talking about, with people about spiritual matters. And I think you have some questions today that you have prepared and that we can discuss together. So I'm really excited to do that. So when you're ready, yeah, just start with the questions and let's roll.
All right, yeah, sounds good. I have a few, like I've written them down, so let's see where it would be good to start. So yeah, like I was wondering a lot about like regarding past lives and like like I think it's such a paradox, and how does it actually, when it comes to the journey of the soul, like because we have this ability to connect with our ancestral lineage. So
Mm-hmm.
like part of the soul like stays on that plane, but then at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, like those souls want to reincarnate in a different life. And sometimes I wonder, like, how does that come together? Like, how can you coexist in on different planes of existence?
Okay, so you mean how come we are linked to our ancestors, but at the same time we are not linked to them? Stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
on a big level, we're all interconnected. And what I found out is that we actually incarnate in families and around people that we have been around in other lifetimes. So even our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors, they have been people that somehow we had a connection with, or energetically at least, but most of the time a direct soul connection. So there's no coincidence or mistake when it comes to this. Also, when we have a certain karma, so the karma is basically the energetic baggage that we carry from one lifetime to the other. When we have a certain karma, we choose to incarnate, or we automatically incarnate because of that energetic baggage into certain situations, into certain backgrounds, families, and so on, to put us on a specific path in accordance to that energetic baggage, in accordance to that karma. If that makes sense.
Mm, yeah, that makes sense. But like, is it then possible to kind of like in a way that a past life that I've had, like then I'm in someone's ancestral lineage, like as a guide or something, and I'm just not aware of it in this life.
So if you are someone's guide in this life,
Or in a different life, like that I don't remember now consciously. That like on a different life I might be like in the spirit world, and
mm-hmm.
like kind of learning lessons and evolving in that way.
Mm. Well, we are always in the spirit world. This is how I see it. And again, for the past life regressions that I did with people and by myself, I've realized we have a certain time where we don't incarnate. And it can take up to like 70 years or so to actually not incarnate as a human before you
Mm.
actually incarnate again. So it can take like a whole human life for you not to incarnate basically after you die. So there's long periods of time when we are just spirits before we go into the next life. So in that time span, we are just spirit, and we are the spirit guides basically, mostly of the people that we have known in other lives, that we have been really attached to, really connected with emotionally and on a soul level. When we incarnate, we don't cease to be spirit guides, so to speak, but we are of a different kind because we have a body. We're no longer just spirits. But all of the soul connections that we were the spirit guides of, so to say, we are meeting them again in person most of the time. That's what happens when we incarnate. So we don't just coexist in spirits, so to speak. So we exist on a physical plane. We mostly meet them on a physical level because they incarnate as well, is what happens. because the people that we meet in past lives, often we meet them in many, many other lives. So yeah, during that time span, like I said, it's about 70 years. It can take up to a whole human life for someone to incarnate. We are just spirits. So yeah, we can be other people's spirit guides. It also depends, what I've realized, when the person dies. Because, like, for example, I've met people in past lives, in my past lives is what I've seen, that were older than me. So they died before me in those lives. Therefore, these people incarnated before me in this life. So there is kind of, it's not all like at the same time exactly. So they were incarnated while I was still in spirit, you know? So
Yeah.
probably had a connection with me even before I was born, while I was in spirit and while they were incarnated here on earth and I wasn't yet. But the soul connection, that is what always remains. And that is what creates actually spirit guides. This is what happens with spirit guides. We have a soul connection with them, and that doesn't go away whether you are incarnated or not incarnated.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes sense. It resonates with me as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you like have any other questions like to clarify, or like if you want me to give other examples, let me know.
Yeah, I think like nothing comes. I think it feels like a like a very complete answer. So
Okay.
nothing. Yeah, nothing comes. But yeah, it makes like I think it makes a lot of sense how like you don't like reincarnate straight away, and that's also what I've thought of, because like there's a lot of still in that life that you had that you have to kind of like
Yeah.
move through in the
Yeah.
spirit world. Like it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, like for example, right now I know for sure that my grandmother has not reincarnated. And some of the other people who died in my life, and that I was close to, they have not reincarnated. They are my spirit guides. Is what I found out through
Mm.
divination. So that's quite interesting too.
Yeah, it is like like we were actually talking with my friend like how like it's so interesting to think about like what will happen in future lives or what's happened in past lives, and like how what kind of relationships you have with one another, and I
Mm,
think there's like I think that's like the way we kind of how we learn and evolve through like different, because I think sometimes like learning through a romantic relationship isn't necessarily the one that you get the most out of or learn the most, so then it takes it on different form, and it's like very interesting I think to
yeah.
like yeah like investigate those things. So
Yeah, definitely. Like the connections that I feel like are something special in my life, or that I can't really understand, or that there is something supernatural about them, I definitely like to investigate them. And like do some divination, do some astral travel, maybe some past life regression, and see what the heck is going on. Because
yeah,
I've had many like supernatural experiences and stuff, like really crazy stuff happening, like
same.
with people especially. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it's life is so like I think there's so much mystery that we don't understand. It's like
Yeah,
so
yeah. And that's why I love like the past life regression work, because it really gave me so many answers. And going into astral travel, into the astral plane, the fourth dimension, really gave me a lot of answers, because I did this work with a medium. I'm not sure if I told you. I think I mentioned this a little bit last
you
time.
mentioned.
Yeah, and basically the things that she has seen in those astral travels regarding me and my past lives are quite like similar with what I've seen. Like we've seen like snippets and like of like memories, and like flashes and pictures, and like things like almost like a movie sometimes that you just see in front of you in your mind's eye. And we've seen
Yeah.
things that are so complementary, that, and she does not know everything about my life. There are things that this person, she could not have known, okay, when she told me
Mm.
certain things that she has seen, certain names, certain situations. And yeah, it
Wow.
was really fascinating. And I understood a lot about me and my karma, and who I am and who I was as a person, and why I met certain people. That's the most important thing, why I met certain people, and why certain things
Mm.
happened in this life.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it's so it's sometimes difficult to understand, like in your life, like why has this something happened with a person, or why has this relationship been so complicated? And it's like
Yeah,
it's so like I think it's so really like it feels so I don't know what the word is, like a relief almost when you kind of
yeah,
like when you get the reason for it, because then
yeah.
it starts to make sense, and like things open up, and then I think the true healing can occur.
Yes, exactly. When you understand why such something is happening or where it
Yeah,
comes, like I didn't know all the time. Like I spent a lot of my life like with a lot of questions, and I kept searching for answers. I kept searching and searching and searching for answers all the time about the universe, about why things happen, about situations, coincidences. Are there coincidences? Like it doesn't seem like it. Why did
yeah.
I meet this person? Why did this happen? Why, all this stuff? Yeah. So I
Mm,
think it's important to know, like to do some digging. That's why I like spirituality, because it gives you so many tools to know those things.
yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I actually have some questions about also about karma. I think that would, and like, and the magical attacks and things like this.
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
that's an interesting, very, very interesting topic. Very interesting. I could talk a lot about that, and I think you know quite a bit as well about it.
yeah, because there's quite a few questions. But for example, like when do you when how can you recognize and and deal with situations where like a dark entity wants to, like, sometimes it feels like they want to create almost drama and havoc and distrust between people that you love, and and I think sometimes these situations can be very difficult when people aren't aware of what's going on,
Mm,
and I would like to know kind of what would be the best, like especially if people don't believe in spiritual things and
mm.
they're kind of closed-minded to it. I think it's very, like, how can one in a way protect and fight against these? Maybe fight is the wrong term, but like kind of not allow them
Yeah.
to have some effect.
Well, I mean, if you don't believe in spiritual matters, I think it's really hard to do that, to be honest. Um,
Mm,
it's hard because you don't take things seriously. You don't take warnings seriously. You don't see the red flags, and you don't ask
mm,
yourself these questions. So that is worrying, because it is like you're a lamb ready to be like slaughtered. Literally, it feels
mm,
like you're completely like a lamb, powerless, blind. You don't see, you don't, because like I said, if you don't believe in these things, it is so hard to fight against them. It's like you're serving yourself on a plate to be like
mm.
manipulated on a mental, energetic, emotional, on every single area of your life, your karma, your destiny, everything. And yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
people like that. I've seen people whose destinies were completely manipulated by karma, by things that happened in past lives that they did not deal with, by entities, paranormal stuff, dark magic. Let's talk about that, because that is a taboo subject. Um,
yeah,
why is it a taboo subject in the year 2022? I have no idea. Even though
mm,
there's a lot of people claiming openly on social media, on YouTube, on the internet, that they are witches and so on and so forth. There's so many books on magic. There's so many forums. There's so many Facebook groups. There's so many like groups of magic generally, like even
mm.
in the UK, apparently it is the country with the most occult groups, which is crazy. And
Crazy.
still it is like a taboo subject, and people refuse to believe in it for some reason. Because I can understand that to some degree, because if people have not really experienced anything like that, if they have not taken any contacts in their lives or been attacked by dark magic, they would not
Mm.
believe in it, or they would not want to believe in it, because it's just easier to deny something. Ignorance is bliss, like they say. It's
Mm. Yeah, definitely, because I know I've been attacked, and also like in my family there's been like curses cast and stuff, and I feel like nowadays I recognize the energy is not mine, or there's something kind of foreign present. And I'm like, sometimes I think what I still think about is sometimes like, when do you really know when a behavior or a thought is not yours? Like, when does it actually come from? Like, when it's really your intuition, and when it's really like kind of there to create disturbances. And I think it's sometimes difficult to recognize those things.
Yeah, it is kind of difficult, but at the same time, if you listen to your intuition and to your gut feeling, a lot of the time you do know when something is not yours. So when an energy, a thought pattern. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples because I think it's best when I give examples. Like recently, an old client of mine, I talked to her on the phone, and basically she said that she's a very balanced person. Okay, we did some work on her karma. She did work herself on her past lives. She's a Buddhist. She's a yogi, a teacher, yoga teacher. She's like a very balanced person. And when I mean a yoga teacher, she's not like just someone doing fitness. She actually is doing like spiritual yoga, from India with mantras and all of the spiritual aspects, not just like, raise your arm and your leg and stuff like that. So,
exactly.
yeah. So she said she's been to like a spiritual event or workshop or something. And after she's been to that event, she came back and she was completely different. She was changed and she didn't know why. And she was like, I knew that there wasn't something that coming from me. It was just out of the blue. And she knows pretty much how to raise her vibration. She knows how to raise her vibe and, get over like a negative energy. But she was telling me that nothing was working. And she just had that feeling that there was an entity, something attached to her, or kind of energetic attack that happened to her because afterwards she just wasn't herself anymore. So, these things do happen, and she spotted this, she felt this, she felt there was some kind of attack, she felt it was something outside of her. So it's really important to have that awareness, that sensitivity, to know yourself well enough and to be sensitive enough to the world around you so that you can perceive when these things are happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what we were also thinking about was like, when do you actually know it's an entity, and when are they like thoughts and conflicting, perhaps, and negative, even like thoughts, like someone has about you, like maybe people who are jealous, or there's like evil eye, or these kind of things. So like, when is it actually like another person, and when is it really an entity, or are they the same thing, or how does it work?
Yeah. So there's different kind of magical attacks. Um, they can come from just a person who just casts like evil eye at you out of malice or jealousy or whatever it is, just like frustration. That can happen just from like a random person, like casting negative thoughts upon you, and that is usually it is easier to clear. Now, the problem, at least in my case that I've encountered, is when this happens from people that are incarnated entities. I just call them entities, to be honest, even if they are like in human body. Um, that's a very interesting topic again, because I've met a lot of these beings, and what I've like when I've analyzed who they are, how they are, I've stopped them, I've blocked them, and all of that stuff. I realized some of them don't even have chakras. And that is the crazy part. They can survive without a chakra system, which is crazy. So they are not like your typical human being. They may have a human shell, but that is it, just a shell. And I actually have a video where I talk about this, and I actually think I taught Leila about this as well. I think I told you as well maybe about that method with the two eyes where how you spot. Yeah. So how you spot these things. Yeah. So
I tried on a few people, but I didn't notice it yet.
yeah. I mean, I showed it to Layla I think 2 days ago, like a picture, and like she spotted it right away. The crazy thing that happened to me recently. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. So that's what I told her as well, because I found it really interesting. Is that I was contacted by this kind of entity for the first time as a client. She randomly contacted me, and I didn't I didn't think about anything like that at first. Like I said, it's the first time it happens to me. So one of these entities contacted me, and I had to say no. It's like the first time I had to say no to someone, and that was because I could see the picture, and from the picture I could sense it, and it was so clear that I didn't even need to do this like the the two-face method, the one half of the face and the other half of the face.
Yeah,
If you did that, you could see a massive, massive difference between one of the eyes and the other one, and one of part of the face and the other. It's like two different people, I swear. So if you do that, it's like two different people. But I could actually feel it even without doing it. It was so obvious. It was so really
wow.
creepy. Another
Yeah,
thing
that is.
that yeah, so another thing you can notice is that even though these people are smiling, right, in the pictures, the smile is almost like a grin, and the eyes empty. So when you look at right the face that is smiling, the eyes, there's just an emptiness. They're just empty. That's how I can describe them. It's almost like there's
I know
nothing.
it's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, I know what you mean. Like, I think I've, like, since I was young, I think I could just sometimes, like, I wouldn't just, I would feel very negative towards someone, like an actor or whoever it was. And I don't
Mm,
know, and I think there's like I've always felt when it's not really a good person. And I think, like, what I've kind of, like, I think I still struggle with this quite a lot. Like, when do you, like, because it's all this like talk about oneness and everything's love and all of this, but sometimes I find it really difficult to like love people or like beings who do such horrible things to others. And it's like,
yeah,
are we, like, like, are we really all, like, of course on some level probably, but in this, like am I supposed to even love them?
yeah.
There's,
That's really,
like,
yeah.
that even kind of help.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, because I did have this discussion with other people as well. And I mean, we were agreeing with the fact that this whole love and light, oneness, new age, law of attraction, BS movement is BS. It's actually, I think it is put out there by these entities so that nobody like smells them, nobody sees them, nobody notices them, nobody acknowledges them, and they just go under the radar. And that we don't know them, we don't acknowledge what they're doing. Most of these entities have a lot of psychic powers. That is another aspect I've discovered. A lot of psychic power. Some of their psychic power comes actually not from their energy, but from their body. It's almost like they're very primal in some way, some of them, that they have these psychic abilities that are embedded in their body. And a lot of the time is in their eyes. They can literally transmit thoughts to other people. They can transmit energies, influence other people's minds. It's crazy. Yeah, like the things, honestly, the things I've noticed about these entities. So yeah, the whole like oneness, we are one and la la, that's just like BS basically. And like I was saying, I was talking to someone else about this whole law of attraction thing, that it is BS as well.
Yeah.
Because yeah, and it is meant to tell you that basically these beings don't exist, that it's just your fault, and if everything that happens to you is your fault, there's nothing outside of you that can harm you, and that's BS,
Yeah.
because that's not reality. We are coexisting with other beings, we are coexisting with other energies, and we are all interconnected, yes, which means that we can all affect each other. And a lot of the time, like, you might have a high energy and vibration, but if you have a karma from other lives which connects you to these beings, like I had, because I pissed them off apparently in other lives, so they took revenge on me, they want to take revenge on me because of that. You might have the whatever high energy you want, they're still going to do things to you, you're still going to feel them. Eventually, if they do it long enough, you're going to feel the effects whether you like it or not. It's like my client said, my friend, she said, I know how to raise my vibration, I know what to do, I'm a spiritual person, I know how to get over these things. And she told me no matter what I was doing, I just couldn't feel better. I just could not get out of that energetic state, and I could not explain it. And this is exactly what is happening. And it happens. It happens very often. I'm going to give you one example that is very interesting about the law of attraction. It happened to me around 2014, I think, when I was in a really high vibe, in a really good place with my life. I remember I was like a few years into my spiritual, not journey, but let's say maybe my spiritual work, so to speak. And I felt like I was really living my purpose. Okay. And I remember I woke up one morning. I mean, I was like that every day. I was in gratitude every day. And I woke up that specific morning. I remember I put the drapes away and there was this sun outside. And I basically was thinking, oh, wow, this is such a beautiful day. And I felt this instant gratitude about my life. I was like, I'm really grateful about the house that I'm in because I just moved into a new house with a good friend of mine, and it was a really nice place. I loved it. We had crystals everywhere. It was so like beautiful and full of light. And I was like, I'm so grateful for this house and all that. And I felt I'm so grateful for my life from working in a beautiful space with great therapists and great people and all that. And then I said, I felt like, oh gosh, I met my twin flame. I'm really, really grateful for meeting him and for being with him. And I really felt that gratitude within myself. And you know what? Based on the law of attraction, I didn't even think about the law of attraction. I just instantly felt that. But based on that, it says that this should perpetuate itself. You should attract more of it, right? If you feel that gratitude.
Yeah.
Well, I
Exactly.
felt gratitude without trying. I just felt it. That's how I was feeling about my life. And guess what? In less than a week, everything fell apart. I kid you not. I have a massive argument. I had a massive argument with my boyfriend, with my twin flame, and that something like wrong happened. I was in tears. I was shattered. I had a problem with the house. Like all of a sudden, I knew that I had to move in less than a month from that beautiful place, and
Oh.
everything just fell apart. And it makes absolutely no
Sorry.
sense when it comes to what these people are teaching about the law of attraction. But it does make sense from other perspectives. It makes sense from the perspective that I was followed from past lives by entities who wanted to sabotage my life. And no matter what I was doing and what this BS law of attraction is saying, that law of attraction people teaching it that, oh no, nothing can harm you outside of yourself, you're just in charge of your own life and blah, blah, blah. This is not true because I was in such a high vibe. I was doing everything right. I kid you not. I was listening every day to like uplifting spiritual music, not because I had to, not because I said I need to, because I enjoyed it. I literally was in a very high vibe. And like, there was nothing in my unconscious, in my conscious mind, because I know myself, I have self awareness that could have, led to those events that happen afterwards. And there's so many paranormal things that happen to me that have nothing to do literally with me, with Christina as a person, with my incarnation right now.
Yeah.
Things like bulbs shattering, lights flickering, electronic equipment just like crashing, and all the other stuff, black shadows that even my landlady, where I used to live in the house in London near her, like she's seen them with her daughter. She has seen those shadows. Um,
Okay.
Things that other people have seen it, and this cannot be explained through the law of attraction. I'm sorry, but this is just BS. So there's so much more out there. Sorry, this
Yeah.
is my fear.
No, 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 I completely agree with you because actually, like, I sometimes notice when I've been like I feel like I'm in a very high vibe, like I'm feeling really good and grateful and like excited about life. And then like something happens, like it comes from a different person or something on the outside. It's like it feels very, very kind of negative and heavy. And sometimes I feel like it can be like, is it sometimes that also like in a way light, like darkness is attracted to light as well. So I feel like there's that aspect, and then I've also thought like, is there kind of like maybe it has something to do maybe with my karma from past lives, or something that I can still be affected by these entities, or is it just really that I'm being attacked? Is there some form of my own responsibility for it happening?
So you mean when you feel negative energies coming your way? That's what you mean?
Yeah, and like sometimes kind of like I feel like maybe there's a reason why in my life there has been a lot of this darkness that has not, it's not like directly kind of created by me, but maybe there's a reason for, I can learn something for it, or it's my karma that it still happens in this life.
Mm. Yeah, so this is another myth about learning. We're being told that everything that happens for a reason for you to evolve and learn. And to some degree, that is true because, for example, because of the things that happened to me, I have learned a lot about the universe, about these beings, about the good, the bad. I've learned about myself, obviously, and I have learned how to protect myself, how to clear these things. You know, I've learned a lot of knowledge about the universe generally and what is out there. If I wouldn't have had these experiences, I would not have known. But at the same time, if I would not have had this karma, perhaps I did not need to know about these things because I just didn't need to use them. So yeah, I think it is in some way, it is some true in some way, because obviously you need to learn to protect yourself, to learn about yourself and such. But I think it's also used as an excuse a lot against something that is promoted, I think, by these entities in the new age and the spiritual groups. That there's always like it's happening because you need to learn something because you're not evolved enough. That is not true. You can be an evolved soul and all that, and there's literally nothing for you to learn other than the BS that happened to you in a past life. That's a lot of the time, this is the only thing you need to learn that you don't know and you're unaware of. All the BS that happened to you in past lives that has not been solved and that probably has grown like a snowball, or that has been amplified, or that is being repeated in this life. So it's not that you need to learn something because you did, how can I say that you're not evolved enough? It's not about that.
Okay.
But you need to learn about yourself. You need to learn about who you are and why this is happening. So, for example, if something is happening to you because of a past life, you need to learn what happened in that past life. So, it is a learning experience because it shows you what you've been through, who you are, and what are the forces around you. Why are they around you? Why are they attacking you? Why are they supporting you? In some cases, what are these people? So, that's what you're learning.
Mm. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And like, what is the best way to protect yourself and deal with these energies?
Mm. Oh, that is a tricky question. Because I mean, yeah, it's more complex than it seems. It obviously depends on the gravity of the situation, of how badly you experience these things. So some people experience them from birth. Like some people have traumatic childhoods and they are born in certain situations and encounter certain people since they are children and are being traumatized. And a lot of the time, that is also due to some karma, to some past life karma, to some entities that have tried to sabotage their incarnation in some way or the other. Like when I was young, I could feel entities around me. I remember I was on my own in my room and nobody was there, and I could feel this thing hovering above me, just behind me. And I could feel like this presence like behind me, like just like that. And I would turn and there was nobody there, but I could feel that presence. It's almost like there was something there, like behind me. And
I
I
I
felt chills. Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I think I know the feeling. What do you mean?
Mm. Yeah. So like it depends, like I said, on the gravity of these situations, because with some people it is quite complex. The karma clearing, the protection, I mean, it requires a lot of things. First of all, it requires sensitivity to be sensitive to energy. So to develop a certain spirituality so that you can feel energy. That's how it started for me. I could feel these things. I could feel when something was wrong. I could feel when someone did not have my best interest, when someone literally was about or wanted to attack me with energy or evil eye or did not want something good for me, basically. I could feel people easily. Or I could feel
Yes.
when a person was an entity, even before I found out that there are actual incarnated entities in this world. So first of all, to develop a certain sensitivity or to be born with it, I don't know, to develop it, to be born with it. Some people are born with more sensitivity. Some people develop it, over time. That's really helpful because it helps you identify these threats in your life, and it helps you become aware of them, and that something isn't right, that something isn't coming from you. You're not to blame, because that's what the whole law of attraction movement is trying to do these days, to blame only you individually as an individual, like as if you can control the entire universe, which is just BS. You cannot control the entire universe.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I think what I've also like, it's kind of a comment and a question as well. Like because sometimes I feel like a person or someone is actually like, yeah, like a very dark entity themselves. And then I think there's some people who are just maybe these entities around them and affecting their behavior. But
Mm,
and then it's not really necessarily that person, like it's just in
yeah.
their aura or something. So is there like a way, because I think they're kind of victims of these entities as well. So like, is there a
Mm,
way? What would be like the best way to deal with these kind of people, who are perhaps like, because I think in a way the ones that are just dark entities, like stay away from them. But I think
mm,
like I think that family members or friends, like I think sometimes I felt like they're affected by something foreign. So what's
mm,
the best way? What's the best way to deal with it? And
mm.
is the awareness the best way of kind of being in this situation, like being aware of it and giving it kind of like still being open to that person?
Yeah, so you're aware that some people in your life have been affected by these things, right? You have that awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, once you have that awareness, because you need to know exactly what is going on. Like, with family members, like in my case, I also believe that they are not bad people. And I know now, after I can do these checks and everything, I know they're not entities and stuff. And I know that their subconscious minds have been influenced. And I've seen that there were energies and thoughts implanted in their subconscious minds. And it is hard to deal with this, especially when it comes to close people. But the best thing you can do, that I advise you, is first of all to do some divination, to use maybe a pendulum, to learn how to use pendulums, and maybe cards. But pendulums are quite precise tools, so just use
Yeah,
a pendulum.
pendulum.
Yeah, and try and see if this person is being influenced by something, or is this person like an entity. Okay. And then, like, after for sure this person is not an entity, it's actually a good person that has been influenced or turned against you, which happens a lot by these energies. Then you have to remove these influences. It is, it's all you can do to remove it by any, like, all means that are energetic and magical and whatever. There's so many, like, there's so many different things that you can do. um like, things from, I don't know, just Reiki, like energy healing, hypnosis, astral work, regression, even forms of magic that can annihilate other types of magic. So there's a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So so yeah, what was your question actually? So your question was like, um,
I think you answered it. I'm also thinking,
okay.
what was it again? Yeah, like how to be with these kind of people who are affected by these energies. Like is it the best way still to be loving and kind of like concentrate on their true being, or is
Mm,
it better to? I think it probably depends on the situation,
it
but I think
does. It
sometimes
does.
it's interesting when you like feel like you really feel that there's something so negative and you don't want to be there almost, but then at the same time, it's
Yeah.
like is that kind of a bit selfish, because it's not even that person, and maybe one like it could be better to assist or help them somehow.
Mm. It really does depend on the situation, exactly like you're saying, because with some people you have a deeper soul connection or a deeper connection generally, and you really don't want to lose them. Or you feel like literally you feel that they have a good heart and a good soul, and that they're
Exactly.
worth they're they're worth saving, so to speak. Okay. And like with other people that these entities are using, or like these energies and forces are using like vessels to manipulate, with others they're just, it's basically they have like a weak point that is kind of on the negative side. They have something dark inside of them, and that's why these forces are using them. And with these people I like to cut off contact. So in my case, like I had people that had a dark side, so to speak, and I always like to see the potential in people. So that's why most of my life I was so naive to ignore the dark side in people, and because I like to see the potential. And like with some of these people, they were controlled by these dark energies, and I cut them off from my life, and I do not miss them. I feel so much better without them, because I know deep down they did not want the best for me. I know they wanted actually bad things for me, which is crazy because I thought they were people that were close to me. So I know that they had like a bad heart, to so to speak. Not everyone has a good heart. You know, we have different types of consciousness. We have different types of understanding the world and the universe. Some people just don't perceive themselves as bad people, but the things that they do and the things that they wish for others, you know, they don't make them good people in my perspective, in my eyes. So I don't deem them as good people. So if I don't deem them as good people with good intentions, why would I keep them in my life, you know? But with other people, yeah, with other people, like I had friends, for example, who like did some things like that to me because of the influences of a lot of curses that have been sent to me, and they were like their mind was being influenced. And then once I removed the energies from these curses, they changed, like they completely, they had these moments where they just like went kind of against me. Like there's some examples, but they went against me again with magic. Like I introduced them to some forms of magic for protection and for preventing other people from harming them, and they used it against me all of a sudden. And then they stopped once I removed the curses that have been sent to me. And these people are okay now. I can talk to them, they're fine. I kind of forget, I want to forget what happened because I know it wasn't them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean, and yeah, it's really crazy because sometimes you feel like a person does something and it's not them. Like you really feel the difference. Like it's like it's just a knowing, like an inner knowing you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
it's
know it's
crazy
not.
how much these energies can manipulate people's minds, you know, and hearts. It can really they can implant thoughts, you know, in someone's subconscious mind. They can implant ideas into the mind of other people. I've seen people act in ways that I would have never thought they would act after they've been subjected to some kind of energy magical manipulation.
Mm. Yeah, it's really crazy, and I think it's so important to talk about these things. And I really feel like this is one part in the spiritual community, like very broadly speaking, that like they don't want to see these things, like you said in the beginning. And I think that's really worrying because I think also that in these spiritual circles there is a lot of darkness, and like it's not being dealt with, and there's all this spiritual bypassing
Yeah.
and things like so. Sometimes I even feel like these dark entities actually, like their way of like getting power and affecting people is actually to be in these spiritual circles because there is a lot of power and there is like potentially a lot of light. So I think it's like really important to become aware of these things more and more.
Yes, I think so as well. I also think there's a lot of bypassing in the spiritual communities. Yeah, I think that many people just, I'm so surprised that I can't even discuss some of these things with my spiritual friends. Like, of course, there's people like you and like others that have actually had experience with this, you know, and because they had some kind of experience with this, they know about it, they feel it, they know it's real, and I can discuss it with them. But with a lot of the people from the spiritual field, I can't simply talk about these things because they don't understand them. They don't believe in them, even though they claim they're spiritual people. They really are asleep. Like literally, it's like they are veiled almost, you know. Because I think this is what these entities have as an agenda. It's like for us to be completely asleep, to like like ha ha ha, like laughed at this matters. This is not true. You have all the power in the world. Of course, if someone tells you that, you have all the power, nobody can affect you, you're not going to pay attention to what is around you. You know, you're not going to detect these things. It's obvious.
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah, that
that's
makes
the plan. Yeah.
sense. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, and it's really, I had something on my mind. It's just my brain went somewhere else. Oh, again, it will maybe come back. Anyway, I had a thought there, but it vanished.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
the spiritual communities, I think. Yeah, and that these entities are actually even infiltrated in these spiritual communities. Yeah, of course they are. They are everywhere. There's so many of them. And like what like the
Oh
crazy yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, I just remembered. Like, I think what I wanted to say, like maybe a reason why certain people like don't want to, see that these entities exist and affect us is because like they're not okay with their own darkness. Like sometimes I feel like maybe they haven't yet, they're like afraid of darkness actually and their own darkness, so that's why they don't want to believe that someone else could also be affecting it.
Yeah, I mean it could be that they are afraid of it because like for a long time I was also not interested in like anything dark. I was completely asleep until I was about 25, 26, and I met my twin flame and just hell broke loose because of that. Like all the karma got unleashed. And that's when I basically a lot of things were revealed to me whether I wanted them or not. My eyes were open. So I was the same. I didn't want to think of anything bad. I was like, oh, the universe is just love and light. If I just focus on what is good, everything's gonna be just fine. You know, I was that kind of person because I understand it's just not pleasant to know certain things. It's not pleasant to look the truth in the eyes, to be honest. It's not pleasant to see what exists and what is real and what is possible. So I've learned some things that I never believed they were even possible in this world, like things regarding magic, things regarding energetic and matter manipulation, manipulating matter, manipulating physical form, like manipulating the body, even body changes. Yeah, I never really thought this was possible before. So yeah, of course, people don't want to believe in this because it's not pleasant. There's a lot of unpleasant truths about the world and about the universe. It doesn't mean that they're not there.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
yeah, exactly. But is there then like a higher purpose for the evil in a way? Like it's like we're learning somehow and kind of maybe like being like becoming more aware of who we actually are through the darkness. So in a way, the darkness can be a teacher, but I feel like sometimes it's perpetuated for too long. It's almost like we've learned a lesson already from it. Then it
Mm.
keeps coming back because these entities want to. It's almost like they want to work against evolution.
Yeah, they do. What they want, I tell you bluntly, they want to take over this planet, really, because this is such a mixed planet. When I went into past life regression, I've seen that here lots of different beings from all over the universe come here, and this is quite a peripheral planet, it seems. Like a lot of the action in the universe, like the galactic wars and all that, they're not happening here. But a lot of different types of beings come here or came here, and there's light and there's dark. And for example, I've seen that some of the light beings, from the wave of light beings, for example, that I come from, we came together. There were like thousands of us, and I had this image with the work that I did with the medium. Basically, she had the same kind of images. We were like shooting stars, a lot of like lights in the sky, were coming together, and we came here to this planet because we were followed by a group of these dark beings. So when we came together, both good and bad, both light and dark. So these beings were following us.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like, so sorry, what was your question again?
No, 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 I don't even remember anymore. But that's so interesting you mentioned that because like one of my questions like had to do with aliens as well, and like I think one of the questions was like are because my sense is also that there are different alien races like on this planet, And like maybe that's why sometimes we're like from someone like we don't feel good because they're actually like a race that we've had, I don't know, wars with or
Yeah.
drama with else. And like yeah, and I think there's like so much more going on the
Mm.
or is everyone really just human, you know, like I feel like there's so much more.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a human facade, to be honest. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has a human
Yeah.
shell. Because like even like when we came here, I could like see it was so funny. Like I could see that there was a lot of density here that we were not used to. So we had problems like standing when we had a physical body. The physical body apparently wasn't completely like it is today, like it is human. It was like more humanoid, but it wasn't human. And we had problems like standing on like two legs because of the gravity of this planet was more
Mm-hmm.
dense, the density. It's yeah, it's so interesting. Uh, yeah, and basically we came, like I said, because we were followed by these dark beings. So there's a war even here, a kind of a more distant war, but the same kind of beings that are in conflict in the greater universe come here and they continue kind of the conflict with this kind of
Mm-hmm.
facade, with this mask. Here, everyone is masked in a human incarnation. This is the tricky thing because even these entities, they have the capability of giving birth to a human spirit that then incarnates into a human body. So this,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what I've noticed with actual human beings that are not incarnated dark beings is that there isn't the first party. So there's just the body and the human spirit and their source. But their source, how can I say, I have something where I have like a talisman, okay? I have like it's like a drawing where I say a few things and it lights up when these things appear, okay? When I check if someone is an incarnated being, that thing doesn't light up if they are a human being because there's no third party. It does light up when it discovers the third party or the entity. So basically there's no third party when it comes to human spirits. There's the greater source, and then there's the soul, the spirit, it kind of projects itself, and then there's the human body. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, with the entity there is the dark being that can project a spirit and then can project a body.
Wow. Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's really really crazy when you start
It's
thinking about it.
crazy,
And
but yeah, it is.
yeah, yeah, we were also like I was also thinking about like how because I think there are a lot of like UFO sightings and people have seen aliens and I feel like it's becoming more and more common and I think sometimes I wonder like what's the purpose for it, like are they here to kind of teach us and like that we can go further in our evolution but at the same time it feels almost like people don't really understand the meaning of them and are they just like random sightings that they want that like they're just telling us that they're here and
Mm.
then I've also heard like maybe they are our future selves like when we are more evolved. So I was always like wondering what's really going on with the whole alien.
Yeah, I mean, you probably know that there are different kinds of aliens. Some of them are good, some of them aren't so benevolent,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, there's both the good ones and the bad ones, so to speak. So I'm always wary of people who do this kind of meetup groups or this kind of workshops and events where they're saying, "Oh, we're channeling the Arcturians, we're channeling the Pleiadians, we're channeling I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what," because these people most of the time don't really know what they're channeling, and
True.
these beings can be really deceiving, and that's why I've been avoiding for the past 2 3 years. I've been avoiding spiritual meetings. I've been avoiding a lot of groups, even spiritual groups, like because every time
Mm-hmm.
I've been connected to them in the past years or to some group or to some person, even some person that I knew that attended these things, somehow there were reptilian beings, entities, stuff, la la la, around them all the time. And I could feel them, I could feel the energy they were sending to me, and then I could spot why they were around this person, they were around that person. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to get in touch with the wrong energies, if you don't really know what you're channeling or you're not aware or you don't believe in dark beings.
Yeah, makes sense. What is like a good indication of knowing like what you are channeling? When do you know it's dark and just masquerading as light? When is it
Yeah,
actually?
so that is the tricky one, because even I have been sometimes deceived, in meditations, and I'm quite aware and I know these things. Um, and sometimes, yeah, like I said, I've been even attacked in the astral plane when doing like astral work, astral projections. Um, so I think like most of the time it's about your gut feeling and to feel that you really have made a connection with a good positive being, and to trust again your gut feeling, because what happened to me and to other people, I'll give you an example, because someone has went into the astral to do like to connect with the light, and I can't really remember if it was Archangel Michael or someone, right, like some kind of being. And she said she has seen a light, but it wasn't the light that she wanted. She said, I knew it was a trickery. It was like a really cold light. It felt like an almost artificial cold light, and it was nothing in it or behind it. It felt like a mockery, a trickery. And she knew she was deceived, that there was a being trying to deceive her. She was not really connecting to the light that she wanted. So it's really important, like this person, to know, to have that inner feeling that there's something wrong, that this is not exactly the truth. This is not exactly what you wanted to connect with. And also then it's very important again to do some divination, to use your pendulums for answers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think there's so much. I feel like many people are not taking responsibility when they are channeling and like teaching others, and then they don't really even know what they're really channeling. And I think there's such a big responsibility when it comes to these things.
Exactly. And it's not really about fear, because I've met people that say, oh, I'm not afraid of these things. Oh, you shouldn't have fear and all that. Well, I never had fear about these things because I never really believed in them, until I was like, I said 25, 26, when I actually encountered them, and then like the whole hell started, like the whole thing.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I had this mentality, and I can tell you that this mentality that, I'm not afraid of this and that, this is highly toxic, because it can get you into the most unpleasant situations with the most horrible entities and beings if you have this mentality. It is not about fear, because even after everything I've seen, I can't really say I'm scared of them. I am repulsed by them. I would like the world to be rid of these things, but I'm not really
Yes.
scared of them per se. I'm not being cautious because I am scared, but because I don't want this BS in my life, and because I'm aware of what is out there. This is why I'm cautious. This is why I believe in them. And this is why I'm informing people about these things. So it's not a thing about fear. It's about being aware, being realistic, seeing things in the eye, so to speak, looking at things in the eye.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, it's been like since a young age, like in my family, like they've spoken about like dark entities, like on my dad's side, like they would mention them and things like that. So I think I've always like believed in it, and I think I've like more seen of the dark in a way in my like childhood and later on. So for me, it's been like more difficult to trust the light and like to see the light and to
So you
like
mean
really
like,
sense.
sorry, you mean that your family actually talked about dark entities?
Yeah, definitely. Like on my dad's side, it's because like they they're like in Islam, like you would mention more. For example, you say like it's a word called like wiswas, so it's called like the whispers, and
Mm-hmm.
they would say like how and like the whispers of evil, like evil whispers and of
Yeah.
Satan, like they affect people. Like they would talk like mention this in everyday language and
Mm.
like curses like that. So I think there was always like some sort of a like even if they wouldn't really get into it and maybe deal with these energies properly,
Yeah.
they would there was still like a kind of like a knowledge of them. So I think for me, like it was always kind of like what I'm still I think learning is to really like sense the good in the world, because I think it's so easy to see the dark and to sense the darkness.
Okay, that's interesting that your family knew about this and they were talking about it because my family literally did not talk about anything spiritual and they did not believe in it. And to be quite honest, like especially my dad still does not want to believe in anything of this nature. So wow, so your family actually believed in this. Wow.
Yeah. And my mom is kind of open. Like my mom is more like open to it, but they didn't really speak about it. But yeah, it's a different culture as well. So I think it's like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because like in Islam, there's like a lot of dark magic as well, and I think there's people openly talk about it because I've seen like a lot of not mantras, I don't know how they call them, like prayers against like jinns and
Yeah,
against like
exactly.
dark magic and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think there is like maybe it's more because I think maybe also like if you're not if you don't, I think there's some people are of course religious in Europe and the Western world and they're Christian and stuff, but I think like many people don't believe in like kind of more in the atheist side of things. They don't believe in anything. So maybe that's also one reason why they don't believe in the dark entities.
Mm-hmm.
Because then even if you're like not following like Islam or something, you're still kind of maybe know the Quran and you've read it, so there's more belief in these things. That's what I've at least noticed myself.
Mm, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean, my family, nobody really believed in this, and nobody really was spiritual when I grew up. Like, not even now, they don't really believe in this.
Yeah. It's difficult when they're like you're like know this part of a reality and things, and then others don't believe in it. So it's like difficult, I think, to like be
Yeah,
yourself, really
exactly.
feel safe. Mm.
Yeah. But there are also some things I know that my dad has seen and has witnessed that he cannot explain. So I think he's not trying, he's like starting to believe in now because he's experienced as well some things that he cannot explain. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think everyone has a different pace, and you can't really force it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any more questions there? This was really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it was very interesting. I think like everything. Let's see. I think I think we covered everything that I had and more. Nothing really comes to my mind. They're probably like I think there's like so many
Yeah.
topics, and I feel like there could be like
Yeah.
so many different paths, but I think nothing is really now on my mind.
Mm. Yeah. Do you want to ask like anything regarding what we've talked? Like anything?
Anything we talked about? Um. Oh, nothing comes to my mind.
Or your friend maybe?
Oh, yeah. Do you have any questions? No, nothing comes to her mind either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, this was like really interesting. Again, really interesting topics to talk to you about. Like
yeah.
some of the
Thank you
things that
so much.
some things we've already discussed in the past. Like, but yeah, it's always good to talk more like in details and such.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really nice. Like I really enjoyed
Mm.
it.
Do you
And
have
probably
like
more questions. Sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, what did you say?
I was gonna say like probably like more questions will come up after this, but like in the moment it's difficult to think of it.
Yeah,
What I
yeah.
mean.
Well, I'm curious, like, if you have like any paranormal story yourself, that's something that's really out there, kind of crazy that happened to you,
Mm.
or anything that
Oh.
you want to share.
Does it have to be like a negative thing, or can it be
Not
like something?
necessarily, like maybe anything that stands out to you.
Well, I had a really like actually just recently I was at a like kind of a yoga spiritual festival, and I attended this workshop. It was called like how to break away from the uh, shackles of your or chains of your past, like your ancestry. And
Mm-hmm.
then we like called. There were a lot of people, like maybe 150 or more, and everyone like was calling in like calling in the ancestral lineage, and then we started like shaking and maybe
Mm,
shouting and making sounds, and then my grandmother from my mom's side, like I started channeling her, so like she came to me and she started
wow.
talking to me, and yeah, and it was a very very like strong experience, and she, because we she took a lot of care of me when I was younger, and my sister as well, and
Mm,
then but then when I got older, like I started having my own opinions, and she also had Alzheimer's, and I always felt like she wasn't present with me, and she would always say like when something was bothering me, she would be like, oh, don't care about it, don't worry about it, and it's kind of like, like
mm-hmm.
how people from that generation are. So
Yeah.
we didn't have like a good relationship like towards the end, and I think I even if I understood her why she was that way, I still have a lot of resentment against her
Mm,
as well. And she just like came to me, and she was like taking responsibility, and she was like she apologized to me, and she was very like sorry how she wasn't able to be there for me and my sister more, and the reason for it was the fact that she wasn't able to like be with her emotions and express her emotions, and
mm,
and this is like it's a very old thing from past generations as well, and she could see how that has like affected her kids, and how that
mm,
is difficult for me and my sister, and yeah, it was almost like this, like I'm here and I'm giving you space, and it was very interesting, like all of this. And then because I was, when I saw pictures of her and me when we were little, like I would get a little bit like annoyed, like almost a bit pissed off, like oh, like that was also not a very good good like
mm,
adult in my. And but now when I asked my mom to send me some pictures of us, and I could just like feel the love and see the love in
wow.
such a new. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, like how can I see this so differently? And I think like, and I cried a lot like during the experience, and even when I spoke about it to my mom and some friends, I would like tear up. Now I feel, because I've spoken about it quite a bit, I don't get so emotionally kind
Mm,
of activated anymore. But I really, yeah, but it was like such a beautiful experience, and it was so unexpected,
mm,
and yeah, I'm just really grateful for it. And I think how what and the most beautiful thing about it was how I could really sense how, because of because she took full responsibility for it, then it's so nor like it becomes so effortless to forgive,
mm.
and it's almost like it just happens in the energetic planes, and not like on a in your rational mind where you're like, I want to forgive to this person. It just happens.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because with your rational mind is kind of hard because everything is emotional. So it probably happened in the astral plane, isn't it? So yeah, on the emotional plane.
Yes,
Yeah, it's so
yes,
nice. Yeah, when this happens. Yeah, it's lovely. I'm really happy for you that you experienced
yeah,
this.
yeah. Thank you, and it was nice to share it actually, because I feel like everyone can have these
Yes.
experiences, and like even if it's like you shouldn't try, because I really went there like nothing will happen. Like I'll just see how it is, and but then something like it was so spontaneous and unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes these things happen like unexpectedly. Wow,
Mm.
beautiful. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like I said, I think everything is kind of connected because I was like I was connected with my grandmother in past lives as well, and like she, I think I was born not just to clear my karma, but also the family's karma, like her karma as well.
yeah,
Because like there was this servant woman because my grandfather like had servants and stuff, and she was very nasty apparently, and my grandmother thought that she did like spells and stuff to her. Like when this servant was fired from the place, basically my grandmother found all of her dresses cut, and like destroyed and stuff. And like yeah, and basically I did not take it seriously until recently when I started doing like the cleaning, like the massive karma clearing. And
yeah,
that's when I actually looked into my ancestor, like my family's karma as well. And apparently, like, yeah, my grandmother had from her family, like her family, basically her mother, my grandmother, had some curses on her. And then this servant woman did some
Really?
curses on my grandmother and my grandfather. So yeah, I had to clear those things as well. So it's interesting because you see the karma clearing is not just about you and your past lives. 'Cause I think you had a question about it, about how it ties all together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes, in the
also,
beginning.
yeah. So it ties everything ties together because you're not just born to clear your own karma, but you're linked obviously to everything that happens in your family. Because the curses that have been done on my grandmother were affecting my life as well and my whole family. So then I have to clear them. Okay, so I was born to do that as well. That's why I incarnated into this family. So yeah.
I feel that way. I feel like I've come here to clear a lot of a
Yeah.
lot of the like curses and trauma that no one has been still like that no one has done in the past yet.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. So you're probably going to clear some of this stuff as well for your family. Maybe
Yeah, I think so.
maybe
Like,
from your father's side or something, because like you said something about your father's side, maybe like with these curses.
yes, there's a lot. I think on both of like I think there's a lot in like his mom's and his father's side.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to clear. I think it will. I think some clearing has been done, but there is still a lot to do.
Mm.
That's how it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're getting there. That's important.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, exactly. And you as well. Like it's great that you've done so much clearing and it's
Mm.
helped you and like your lineage. And I think like when you clear one lineage, it helps other lineages as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's all kind of a web. It's all like all these
Yeah,
lines, bloodlines, and like karmas and destinies are kind of interconnected. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
Yes, definitely.
But I wish we could live in like a pure world where none of this would happen, and we would just have to like just live our lives without doing this work. To be honest, I
Yeah.
really wish that.
Maybe like when we're old or in our next life.
Oh gosh.
Like, it's an
Yeah,
interesting
feel
topic.
like I really feel like some people have it easy. Like this is what I was talking with some other people. Like some people seem to have it so easy. Like they don't really have any of this karma and these curses on them, and like no entities seem to like stalk them. Because like for me, wherever I go, there is always some kind of entity stalking me and like sending those energies, and it happened to me for years and years. And I know many other people who have the same thing. Like the same thing happens to them. Whereas with a lot of other people, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, it's kind of unfair. But hey,
Yeah, it's unfair. Yeah, I wonder what the reason is for that.
well, it's just the karma, most probably. The what's
Probably.
our our soul lineage, so to speak. What happened to us on a soul level. And yeah,
Yeah.
what I noticed, I think actually Layla told me that. I think she had a good point there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said that some people like they are attacked maybe because they have a higher source, like their vibration is higher and they represent
Mhm.
a higher threat to this
Yeah.
darkness. And I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense what she says. I think it's probably the case that yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because maybe someone whose life is very easygoing and things, it's like there's maybe some still like they're very neutral and there's like not maybe the energy is still not very aware of there's and like being naive or something like that. So then they're not such a big threat.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think some people's light, just because of who they are as a source on a soul level, I think they represent like a threat to these beings and they're kind of targeted. Because I literally noticed that some people are targeted, which is crazy. Like over and over and over again, these beings just seem to like just focus on them all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I think so too.
Mm. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. I think Layla told me that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Like I found something that Layla might say. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it makes sense. So anyway, it's really interesting to talk about such matters because you don't hear them very often in spiritual, in the spiritual world. Like I said, people don't really talk about them.
Yeah, it's true, and I think sometimes I felt really lonely with this stuff because it's like really felt something that I'm sensing and seeing and
Mm,
feeling, but then there haven't been a lot of. I think I have more people now around me, but before I think it was just me and Layla basically. We
mm,
would kind of like
yeah,
really take it seriously.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's good to connect and have these conversations.
Yes, thank you so much. I really
Thank you
enjoyed
as
this.
well. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's talk again soon. Take care.
Yes, yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.